You know that feeling, right? You start a new code project, everything's clean and organized. But as it grows, it just descends into chaos. Well, today, we're going to fix that. We're going to talk about how to transform that mess into professional, readable C++ code by diving into two super powerful features, namespaces and enumerations.
So just imagine you're building a game. It starts out small, and everything is neat. But then you start pulling in other libraries, a graphics library, an audio engine, maybe a physics system. And all of a sudden, your project is crowded. You've got functions and variables all over the place, and things start to break in these really confusing ways.
And that brings us to our first major headache in any kind of large-scale software project. It's called the name collision problem. This is exactly what it sounds like. It's when different parts of your code try to use the exact same name for totally different things.
Okay, check this out. This is a super common but perfect example. On the left, your graphics library has a function called draw to put some pixels on the screen. Makes sense. But on the right, your new audio library also has a function called draw to visualize a sound wave. So, when you just call draw, which one does the compiler choose? It has absolutely no idea. And that ambiguity, that confusion, is what leads to all the errors and chaos.
So how in the world do we solve this? Well, thankfully, C++ gives us a really elegant solution that was designed for this exact purpose, to organize our code and prevent these kinds of collisions. And that solution is called namespaces. Now, the official definition sounds a little dry. It says a namespace is a declarative region that provides a scope to identifiers. But let's break that down. All it really means is that it's a container. You're basically creating a named box, you put your related code inside it, and boom, it's instantly separated from everything else.
But here's an even simpler way to think about it, and this is the one that really sticks. Think of namespaces as last names for your code. Seriously, if you're in a crowded room and you just yell John, you might get 5 people to turn around. But if you yell John Smith, you get the exact person you were looking for.
And this just illustrates that idea perfectly. In the real world, you've got a first name and a last name. In C++, you've got an identifier, like our draw function, and a namespace, like graphics. So instead of just vaguely calling draw, you can now be specific and say graphics draw or audio draw. The conflict is just gone. Your code is now clean, specific, and way more professional. So how do we actually use them? Well, there are a few ways to get at the code inside a namespace. The first way, using the fully qualified name every single time, is by far the safest. Or you can use a using declaration, which lets you pull in just the specific things you need. Both of those are considered best practice. Now, there is a third way, the using directive, but you got to be careful with that one. It pulls in everything, which can sometimes land you right back in the same name collision problem you were trying to fix in the first place.
All right, so we've sorted out our naming problem, we've organized our code, but there's another, much more subtle issue that can make your code cryptic and a nightmare to maintain. And that is the mystery of magic numbers.
Just take a look at this line of code. If player state equals 1. Now be honest, if you came back to this code 6 months from now, would you have any clue what 1 means? Is the player running, jumping, paused? This right here is a magic number. It's a raw number whose meaning is a complete mystery without a comment or digging through a bunch of documentation. And this is where our second awesome tool comes into play. To get rid of these mysterious numbers and bring some real clarity back to our logic, we can use something called enumerations, or as most people call them, enums. So what exactly is an enumeration? Well, it's basically a custom type that you define yourself, and it consists of a set of named constants. In other words, you're creating your own simple data type and giving it a list of all its possible values, where each value has a nice descriptive name. You know, the best way I've found to think about an enum is to picture a drop-down menu for your code. Just like on a website where you have to choose between small, medium, or large, an enum limits the possible values to a fixed set of clear, readable names that you've defined ahead of time. And here it is, the big payoff. Just look at that difference. Before we had if player state equals 1, a total mystery. But after we have if player state equals state.playing. There is zero confusion there. The code literally documents itself. It becomes instantly readable, so much easier to maintain, and a whole lot less prone to bugs. Okay, so let's bring this all together. We've talked about using namespaces to stop name collisions.
And we've talked about using enums to get rid of those magic numbers. These two concepts, they really are fundamental tools for building professional-grade software.
So why does all this matter so much? Because using these features really transforms your code. They help you organize everything into logical, manageable groups. They prevent those frustrating bugs that come from name collisions. They replace confusing magic numbers with clear, descriptive names, which makes your code self-documenting. At the end of the day, for any project that you actually want to grow and maintain over time, these aren't just nice-to-haves. They are absolutely essential.
So as we wrap this up, I want you to think about your own projects. Where's the mess? Is it in the name collisions that namespaces can tame, or is it in those sneaky magic numbers that enums can banish? The real question is, which of these tools are you going to use to clean up your code first?